and welcome to another House of Wisdom knife review video. This is done at my request of my viewership, and this is part 3 of an overview of the knife collection. So we're going to get right into it. Today we're going to be reviewing some of my larger knives, the Spydercos and the Thorburns. So this is the first knife that we're going to talk about, and this is the EB Bowie. The EB Bowie is interesting in that it's the only knife I have that doesn't have a steel blade. This blade is made of SM100, which is mostly titanium. It is a non-magnetic blade, and I'll give you an example. This is a magnet I have, and it just won't stick to it all. You get any other knife, I'll get this Carter Prime, and oops, if I can put it on there. See, it'll stick to that, but the EB Bowie, it won't stick to because it's not got any iron in it. The only magnetic metals are iron, nickel, and cobalt, and some of the rare earth metals, but functionally this is the only knife blade I know, except for the ceramic blades, that is a non-magnetic metal. The SM100 is fascinating because it's made mostly of titanium. It can be anodized. As you can tell, this is sort of a yellow-orange, and then it has some blues and violets down here. And EB stands for Eric Bono, and it's just a fascinating metal, a fascinating knife. It's got a 3-inch blade. It weighs 5.5 ounces. The SM100 steel is a really tough steel. They use it for downhole applications for drill bits in the offshore wells, for example, because it doesn't wear out. And Ed said he just went through like 6 to 8 belts grinding this. It takes forever to grind these blades, but you really don't ever need to sharpen it. So that's kind of fun. The EB Bowie with SM100. This is the first one that's ever been anodized by Ed, and he's friends of the Williamson brothers at Ferrum Forge, and they showed him how to anodize. He made a purple one and a blue one, and I got the blue one. Moving right along, this is the Millet Max Evolution. In the Max Evolution, there were only 26 Damasteel versions made of the first run of 100, which I was able to customize. I got the carbon fiber inlays, I got blue titanium pivot clip and back spacer, and then I got the Thor Damasteel. And I'll get this a little closer so you can see it. Wow, isn't that pretty? So there are only 26 that they permitted to be done in Damasteel. They had a variety of patterns. I like the Thor Damasteel, so this is a rare knife as well as a beautiful knife. It's a big guy. It's got a 3.5-inch blade, and it is 6 ounces, and it's a great knife. Glad to have it. Next is the North Arms Skaha, and this is a great blade. It's very interesting. It's kind of a father and son knife company that came out of the blue. It has a 3.3-inch blade. It weighs 3.1 ounces. It has a variety of colors you can get in the scales. I really like this neon yellow that they had, so I got it. Its blade is CNC machined, and I'll see if you can see those individual ridges. It reminds me a lot of the another Canadian maker who made his knife that way. This is the Norseman by Grimsmo, and they both have this CNC'd blade that you can see those ridges on. I think that's kind of fun. Let me close the Norseman here. So anyway, the Skaha, it's a great knife. It doesn't cost a lot, but boy, you get a lot of value. It's really got a smooth action too. The next knife is the Olson M9. The Olson M9 has a 3-inch blade. It weighs 2.75 ounces. A 3-inch blade, 3.2 ounces, and uses RWL 34 steel. Olson is a Canadian knife maker, and one of the fun things about button locks is that once you release the button, there's just a free fall of the blade. And Brian Ty is another Canadian maker that likes the button lock, and if you don't have a button lock, you really need to get one. This is fun. It has a carbon fiber overlay, and it was a Knife Art exclusive, so I really enjoy this Olson M9. The next knife is a Ontario Carter Prime. Robert Carter is the designer of this. It's made by Ontario Knives, the same guys that make the Rat 2. And Robert Carter is Mel Pardew's grandson of Benchmade fame. He's probably designed half of Benchmade's knives, including the Griptilian and the Mini Griptilian. But this has an interesting blade, and love that Warncliffe blade. It's got a little beak here. This is a thick knife, and when you deploy it, it gives quite a thwack. The Ontario Carter Prime is a 3.375-inch blade. It weighs 4.8 ounces. It's made of D2 steel, and this is a really interesting knife. I think it's one of the best knives you can get for under $100. Next is the Nadeau Mini Typhoon. It has a 3.5-inch blade, and it weighs 4.2 ounces. It uses S90V steel, and Nadeau has some interesting concepts. I like this handle pattern the best. It has these fenestrations in the handle, and you can see the blade whenever the blade's closed through it. Look, it's got this mint green backspace. I really like that. One of the innovations that Brian Nadeau has is his clip. It goes into the knife, but is not held by screws. It's sandwiched between the backspacer and the handle, and it's firm. It won't move anywhere. The other innovation that he has is that on his lock bar detent ball, there's not a detent ball, there's a nub, and he mills away everything but leaves a nub at the end so that the detent angle, which is when you break the knife to when it hits the detent ball. I'll give you an example here. I'll pull out the, let's pull out the Hoback MK Ultra. So, okay, you undo the lock bar, and then you take the blade through a rotation, and then it hits the ball. Right there is the detent ball, and usually you have to get it over the detent ball before you can close it safely. And look, a lot of knives, this knife, for example, has about, I'm going to say 40 degrees of detent angle from where it's closed to where it hits the detent ball. The Nadeau, it has no detent angle either because he put the nub at the very end of the lock bar, so there's no detent angle at all, and it's got just this really interesting, lovely action as a result of it. The only other knife that I'm aware that can get away with that is the Inkosi, because they jammed the detent ball on the very end of the lock bar, and they don't need a lock bar interface because the ceramic detent ball is that lock bar insert. And so once you get over, break the knife, then you don't have any detent angle. So this one and this one, neither one have a detent angle because of their engineering. But Brian Nadeau, and soon he's supposed to be coming out with this is the Mini Typhoon. He's going to come out with the Micro Typhoon, which is even a smaller blade size, and I'm going to be first in line to get one of those. Next coming up is the LionSteel SR2. The LionSteel SR2, 0.25-inch blade. It weighs 3.75 ounces. It's made of Schleppner steel. It's a diminutive version of the SR1. It comes in titanium and aluminum handles. This happens to be aluminum handle. They have this ingenious locking mechanism for their lock bar. This is the roto lock. You turn it like that and you can't disengage the lock bar, and you turn it like that and then you can disengage it. Knife of the Year last year, 2017, they made this same knife in the larger size in a ball bearing flipper, and they call it the SR11. This year they're coming out with the SR22, which is this size with a 3-inch blade, and I'm going to be first in line to get one of those. LionSteel is a high quality company, and this is a great knife. Next, we're going to look at a custom knife factory knife. This is the Peace Duke. It has a 3-inch blade. It weighs 5.49 ounces. It uses M390 steel. It has this wicked compound grind in the primary bevel, and then it has a primary and a secondary bevel back here. And I don't know how functional it is, but boy, it really looks cool. When you grip it, you can grip it like this, or you can get close up in this swell too. This used to be the lightest and best, the smallest knife that Custom Knife Factory, which is a company in Russia, made. Now they have the Decepticon 4, which is a much smaller, lighter knife. But this is a great knife. Haven't done a review on it yet. Put that on your list to do. Okay, next we're going to have some Microtechs. This is the Microtech UTX 70, which is 70% the size of a Ultratech, and this is the UTX 85, which is 85% the size of an Ultratech. These are both great knives. They're sort of identical. They're just different in size. The smaller one, the UTX 70, has a 2.375-inch blade and weighs 1.23 ounces. They both use LMAX steel. The UTX 185 is a blade of 3.125 inches and weighs 1.3 ounces. It uses LMAX steel as well. So those are my Microtech knives. Coming up next is the Medford knife. This used to be the lightest and best from Medford, called the Medford Praetorian. It's a smaller version of the Praetorian. It has a blade that is 2.8 inches long. It weighs 4.4 ounces. Uses D2 steel like Medford is prone to do. And this is a really fun little blade. It is a chunky little guy, but Medford tried to make something smaller for those that like smaller knives. Great little knife. And then the other Medford knife I have, which is a larger knife, I couldn't resist then. This is the 187 flipper. And it's called 187 because the blade stock is 187 thousandths thick. Also, each handle scale is 187 thousand thick. So 187, 187, 187. And the thing that's interesting about this knife is look at how enormous that flipper tab is, that cobra-shaped flipper tab. And whenever you flip this thing out, it flips with authority. It has these thumb lugs that offer as the stop, and wow, when it connects, it really makes a thwack. So if you like a knife that really gives you this gratifying thwack, the Medford 187 is the knife for you. Okay, we're going to start in with the Spydercos now. This is my smallest Spyderco. It is the Ladybug. It has a blade that is 1.94 inches long. It only weighs 0.6 ounces. The normal steel is VG10 like a lot of the Spydercos. This one I got in H1 steel, which is very corrosion resistant, very rust resistant. So you can take this to the lake, to the beach, and you can get sand in it and water, salt water in it, and it won't rust. It's a great steel. Next is the Dragonfly. I've said many times this is possibly the best, lightest and best knife ever made. It's got FRN handles. This is made in the steel of ZDP 189. The blade on the Dragonfly is 2.25 inches. It only weighs 1.2 ounce, and it's a great knife because it's small, but because of the forward finger choil, the 50-50 finger choil is 50% on the blade, 50% on the handle. You can put your index finger there, and then you can get a 4-finger grip. It's got a great ramp here with jimping for your thumb, and it's easy to deploy. It's easy to close. The Dragonfly is the lightest and best knife probably ever made. The wire clip is very functional. The traction point of the clip is over this smooth area so it doesn't rip up your pants. It's got the Bowie detent so it doesn't close accidentally whenever you grip it. You have to intentionally close it. It is a well-engineered, really light, great knife. Next in size of the Spyderco line is the Delica. This is in ZDP 189 also. The Delica is a little larger. It's 2.875-inch blade. The weight is 2.5 ounces. Still a very reasonable size. It doesn't have the forward choil, so you have a lot more cutting edge on the Delica if that's what you're looking for. And it has the back lock with the Bowie detent, just like the Dragonfly, the Delica. Great knife. This is a knife, a Spyderco, that not a lot of people have. It's the Kiwi 4. It's a Wharncliffe blade. The blade is 2.94 inches. It only weighs 1.9 ounces. It's made out of VG10. It has the 50-50 forward finger choil. And if you have a big hand, this is the blade for you and you like a Wharncliffe. Look at how much handle I have left over when I use the forward finger choil. And it's a great, thin, minimalist knife. It has the Spyderco wire clip. It has a lock back. It's a great little knife, the Kiwi 4. This knife I finally pulled the trigger on and bought because one of my favorite reviewers, this is his favorite knife. It is the Sleesh Bowie. And the Sleesh Bowie, he is right. This is a great knife. And it's a testimony that you can use phosphor bronze washer and have a really great action. The blade is 3.42 inches. It is 4.3 ounces. The steel is made of CTS XHP. And for some reason, I don't mind that this is a larger knife. This feels great. The ergonomics are great. The action of the knife is great. This is just a great knife. They took it out of production, unfortunately, this year, so I just had to pull the trigger and get one. I would recommend that everybody get one of these knives. It's a really great knife. The Sleesh Bowie. Next up is the Spyderco Positron in carbon fiber. This has a 3.01 inch blade. It weighs 2.6 ounces. It's carbon fiber. It has the Spyderco wire clip that is one of my favorite clips. And it is a liner lock. Brad Southard made this design, and I really am a big fan of Brad Southard designs, the Positron. It's one of the few flippers that Spyderco makes. Next, we have other Southard designs. This is the Southard, and it is got a smock modification on it. These are not the original handle scales. These are secondary market by Kevin Smock. He did this orange G10 and did a matching pivot collar on it, and it is a great. He also cut down the size of the blade. He cut down the standoff, so it's a smaller knife. The Spyderco with the smock modification has a 2.75 inch blade, weighs 3.36 ounces, uses CTS 204 piece steel, and it is a great flipper. I have a second one of these. I have very few knives that I like so much that I got two of, but this is one of them. This is the other smock modification. He uses a green micarta on this one, has the matching pivot collar, and he made a special clip that mirrors the design on the handle. I'm going to show you the regular clip. The regular clip's just a bent steel spring clip, but he made this 3D milled titanium clip that matches the theme of the knife very nicely. The next knife coming up is one of my favorite Spydercos. It is the Para 3. The Para 3 has a 3-inch blade and weighs 3 ounces. It uses S30V steel, and I made the fatal mistake of saying that this knife might replace the Para 2, and wow, I found out how many Para 2 aficionados there are, so I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm just saying for me, this has replaced the Para 2. Because of the forward finger choil, you have a lot of knife here, and you have handle left over. Plus, it's in an easier, more EDC-capable package. It has a lanyard hole, and it flips out great. It has the Spyderco patented compression lock, which is great because whenever you close the knife, it gets your hands out of the blade path, and you can just close it like that. Really great knife. Next up is the Spyderco Native 5. This is in the S110V steel. It has a 3-inch blade and weighs 2.5 ounces. And it is a beefier little knife than the Delica. The Delica, remember, weighed 2.5 ounces also, but let's compare the blades. They're both 3-inch blades, but you get a lot more blade and a lot more handle on the Native for the same weight. They did something to make it really light. They both have back locks, so the Native 5, I think, is a great alternative to a Delica. If you like the Delica and haven't tried the Native 5, you might want to do that. I also have the Little Native, which is a hybrid. It's got a backlock compression lock like this, but it's in the shape of the Native 5, and I'm a big fan of it. There's only one issue that it had, and I'm sending that off to get it fixed. The kick here, whenever you close it, unlike the S, this is the S, it comes up in the area where you release the compression lock. It's a compression lock knife, so anyway, it's getting fixed so that we're cutting that kick down and then making a sharpening choil on the blade. So it's going to be nice once it gets back. I'll do a video on it whenever it gets back. This is a collector's item. It is called the Spyderco S, and it's not in production anymore, unfortunately. It has a 2 7/16 inch blade. It weighs 2 ounces, As you can tell, it is highly skeletonized. This is about the time that they were coming out with the powdered steels, and Spyderco used this knife to show it off that they could put a mold and the steel would conform to whatever mold they had. So they skeletonized both the handle and the steel blades. So this is a compression lock knife, very light. I tend not to use it. It has a Spyderco wire clip just because it's out of production and it's a collector's item. I really like this. I'm glad I have an example of this in my collection. Next is the Spartan Blades Medusa. It has a 2 3/4 inch blade. It weighs 2.848 ounces. It uses CPM S35V in steel. This blade is really nice. It's just the size you want. It's a great feel. We have anodization on the clip, the lanyard hole, and the over travel stop that make it look really nice. The handles are bronze anodized. This knife just feels great in the hand, and the handle blade have both been smoothed, and they're really great feeling, and it's just the perfect size for an EDC. Really nice, like the Medusa. Now we're going to get into the Thorburns, and this is the A5. This is the A5 I had as a custom made with a double row IKBS bearings, and I contacted Andrew Thorburn, and he didn't think he ever did one, but I showed him a knife video that he had a double row IKBS bearing A5 out there, and so he said he'd give it a try. So he made this specifically for me, and it has a great action. The Thorburn A5 is a 3-inch blade. It weighs 2.8 ounces. The steel used is N690, and it's a great blade, and I just thank Andre for making this for me so much. I have another A5. Again, it's one of those knives I have 2 copies of, so you know it's going to be a great knife. This is made in carbon fiber. It has a little G10 pivot collar for a pop of color. It has bronze anodized liners. And this is a single row IKBS, but a single row or double row, they're both great actions. The double row is a little bit smoother, but the single row is still smoother than any knife you'll ever have. Moving on through the Thorburn Van Heerdens, this is the M45. The M45 is a little larger. It has a blade size of 3.125 inches. It weighs 3.8 ounces. It uses RWL 34 steel. And this feels great in the hand. It has this shred carbon fiber handle. It's a great knife. It has that beautiful Thorburn action and the Thorburn thwack whenever you open it. The blade's a little wider, and I like it. This is another Andre Thorburn. This was advertised as a gentleman's knife by Fort Henry Knives, and I don't think that they knew what type it was, and I need to research a little more. I'll tell you what the specs on it are, though. I believe it to be an L36S. It has a 3-inch blade. It weighs 3.2 ounces and uses N690 steel. The Thorburn L36S. It has some custom stippling and anodization on the bolsters here. I believe his wife does that. And the handles are carbon fiber. There's a lot of tooling on the back and the back spacers, and he has a red G10 liner there that gives a little pop of color. It has a ceramic detent ball and a pressed clip. Really great knife. And the last of the Thorburn is the A6 Mini. This is a Tashi Barusha style design. As you can tell, the blade is oversized relative to the handle, and it has a great action also. This has liners that have a blue anodizing on them, and has the usual clip there. It's in a lightning strike carbon fiber. The A6 Mini is a great knife. Well, that wraps up the collection on part 3 of the series. And if you like it, like and subscribe. In a couple days, I'll have out part 4, the last and final part of my collection. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you see a knife that you like and want to talk about it, leave a note to me in the comments section, and we'll see you on the next House of Wisdom, lightest and best knife review video.